Hi, it's James back again with a much lighter topic this time. Another one of my backlogs that I finished recently, and well, earlier tonight, in fact. And this one is one that's been a long time coming. It is Top 10 Romantic Comedies. And once I got this one worked out, I was fairly excited about this list. So, without further ado, we will start with number 10. And number 10, number 10 is a movie called The Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human. I only ever owned this one on VHS. Unfortunately, it got ruined and I had to dispose of it, and I haven't been able to find it on any format anywhere since. But it sticks with me because it is really funny, and the way it's set up is sort of like if you were watching a nature video about lions or tigers or any other animals. This would be a nature video as being observed by beings from another planet, another world. And they're observing humans. So the way the movie plays out is there's certain amounts that are playing out like a normal romantic comedy, but you've got David Hyde Pierce narrating it like a nature documentary. And it stars Carmen Electra, Lucy Liu, and Mackenzie Astin. Carmen Electra and Mackenzie Astin are the couple that they're observing. And the funniest parts, parts that stand out to me the most are, not to go into too much detail, when the two main characters have sex. And they always visualize it as a bunch of guys dressed in white running along a racetrack towards the finish line. And to try and keep things modest or discreet here, say when they're using protection, when he's using, say, a condom, all the guys run and bounce off this big crash mat and fall backwards. If they happen to be using birth control, courtesy of Carmen Electra's character, the guys run towards the finish line, and this guy dressed up like Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator guns them all down. And what was the last one? The last one, say, for example, if she's performing oral sex on him, the guys are running towards the finish line, get through the finish line, and just stop and look around, and they have nowhere to go. So it's as deep as I'll get with that. But it is funny the way the relationship plays out, and then when the narrator interjects in like the nature video kind of style. So it's funny. If you can find it, I recommend it. It's amusing. The Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human. Number 9, we have a UK film called Love, Rosie. And it stars Lily Collins and Sam Claflin. You've also got Jamie Winston and Suki Waterhouse in there in supporting roles, but it's basically about the two characters, Lily Collins and Sam Claflin, Alex and Rosie. They've been friends for pretty much all their lives. And I think on prom night, Rosie has a little too much to drink and they end up kissing, and then she just wants to be friends, or she wants to forget the whole night ever happened. He takes it as she just wants to be friends, and they part ways. And they keep coming back and forth, back to each other and apart throughout their lives, throughout relationships. Like, she hooks up with another guy, he gets involved with another woman, she gets pregnant, marries the guy, he is engaged to another woman, and then those relationships break up, they come back together, they go apart again, and they come back together. And the way the relationship plays out and then comes back together ultimately at the end, not to go into too much detail to spoil the ending, but it is a sweet, charming, and, well, sometimes troublesome or frustrating romantic comedy. So that's Love, Rosie. Number 8, we have a movie called Destination Wedding. This is another one that was sort of shot in secret, where they basically shot the movie, nobody knew about it, and all of a sudden, boom, here's a movie. And it stars Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves. And that's basically, I mean, they're almost the only two main speaking roles. Everyone else is just sort of background. And they're two people who don't know each other, both coming to the same wedding. And these could be two people who could care less about relationships. And the whole time they're at the wedding, I think it's like a weekend affair at like a vineyard, and they're just such cynical people about everything, just throwing out jabs at everyone about everything. So naturally, these two people are going to get together, just in the weirdest and most unconventional way. The star of this movie, beyond, okay, the stars of this movie, Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves, but I'd say the uncredited star of this movie is the script. The dialogue is just hilarious. The way they're playing it so straight, and you can't believe it, and you just know they're going to get together, but they're just such dismal, cynical people. You don't know how it's going to happen, and that's the joy of watching it unfold. It was made by Victor Levin. But yeah, it was... Oh, they don't say. But yeah, I had read that it was sort of shot on the sly, and then just boom, here's our fantastic movie. Destination Wedding. Number 7, we have a film by Noam Murrow called Smart People from 2008. And this one stars Dennis Quaid, Sarah Jessica Parker, Ellen Page, or Elliot Page, and Thomas Hayden Church. And you've got Dennis Quaid, who's a professor and who is a widowed parent, and he ends up injuring himself, and when he's in the ER, he gets treated by this doctor, played by Sarah Jessica Parker. And a relationship develops between the two of them, and she becomes pregnant at some point, and it's them dealing with that relationship. But you've also got Thomas Hayden Church playing off the wall brother of Dennis Quaid, and he, I'd say, is probably the highlight of this movie. Yeah, because he's got the funniest lines. You just love every minute he's on screen. And it's sort of like Dennis Quaid is dealing. He hasn't been able to get over the loss of his wife, and dealing with this brand new relationship he has with this wonderful woman he's met who treated him as a doctor. And it's just another one where the dialogue is one of the main stars of this movie. It's hilarious. That is Smart People. Number 6, we have an indie movie from 2002. I think another one I checked out when I worked at Rogers. Yeah, because I had seen this preview on something. And it's called The Third Wheel. What did I say, from 2002? Yeah. And directed by Jordan Brady, starring Luke Wilson, Denise Richards, Ben Affleck, Jay Lacopo, who is also the writer of the movie, I believe. And I believe you've also got Melissa McCarthy, Jeff Garland, Lauren Graham, Matt Damon in a tiny cameo, one scene cameo, Nicole Sullivan, David Koechner. And it's sort of The characters played by Luke Wilson and Denise Richards, Stanley and Diana. Stanley has always been infatuated, had a crush on Diana from afar. They work in the same office, and he finally works up the nerve to ask her out on a date, and she says yes. So they go out on a date, and Ben Affleck and Melissa McCarthy are following them on the date to see how far they'll get, and they're making bets with each other on how far Luke Wilson's going to get on this date with Denise Richards. And on their date, they accidentally, in their car, run into a homeless man named Phil. And the journey they take from there, because they feel guilty, they feel bad about running him over, and so they keep bringing him along with them, and they can't get rid of him. They don't want to because they feel guilty. They need to help him because they hit him, but there's just at no point that they can get rid of him. And he is a central figure in this story, which I won't elaborate on, because he is such an unusual character, and what he does for them throughout this movie is just it's heartwarming. It gets you, and when you get to the end, you just love it. So that is The Third Wheel. Now, I don't know if I've talked about this movie to anyone. I don't think. I always forget about it. And I do have the DVD somewhere. I think I had watched it on VHS because it was a while ago, but yeah. The Third Wheel. Number 5, we have a movie from 2014 called Two Night Stand. And this one stars Miles Teller, Annalee Tipton. You've also got Jessica Zor in there. And Scott Mescudi, Kid Cudi, Mescudi, or however you pronounce that. And Jessica Zor plays Annalee Tipton's sister, and Kid Cudi's her boyfriend. And Miles Teller, the movie starts with Annalee, her character. Let me just get character, Megan. And he is... what is his name? His name is Alec. And she basically wakes up in his apartment after having a one-night stand with him. And then she's trying to awkwardly leave, but he wakes up, and then they have the awkward morning after conversation. And it jumps back to her getting drunk one night, going online to some video chat room, meets Alec, Miles Teller, and they decide to hook up for the night. And then it goes back to the present. And she decides it's time for her to go. And while they had been hooking up, a massive snowstorm hit the town. And I believe it's New York City. And hit the town and has snowed them in, so they can't even she can't even get out onto the street, can't get out of the downstairs, out of the apartment, out of the building. So the one-night stand becomes a two-night stand. And over the course of the movie, they sort of not develop a relationship, but get to know each other and start talking and playing games and stuff, and finding out about each other, learning about each other, and also discussing what they like or don't like in bed, and like what they could do better, what they could do differently. And it's a sweet movie, and I love pretty much everything Miles Teller has done, and I love his comedic dialogue delivery. And Annalee Tipton is just adorable in this movie. She's adorable in pretty much anything, but yeah. So that is Two Night Stand. Very highly recommend. Number 4 was a movie strongly recommended to me by my friend Greg, and it is called Man Up, and it's a UK film by Ben Palmer from 2015, starring primarily Lake Bell and Simon Pegg. Lake Bell, who apparently fooled the UK cast by putting on such a fantastically accurate British accent. It's pretty flawless. And in a supporting role, you've got Rory Kinnear of Penny Dreadful fame and the Bond, a few of the Bond movies, the Daniel Craig Bond movies. And Ken Stott is in there too. Olivia Williams, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. It's basically Simon Pegg is showing up for a blind date to meet a woman, and they've agreed to hold up this book in this train station to meet up, or a mall or something. And Lake Bell is there as well, and she ends up meeting the woman Simon Pegg is supposed to meet up with, and she has this relationship book, the same one Simon Pegg has, that they're gonna show to point each other out. And she gives her copy because she's going to go to the bookstore and buy another one. And Lake Bell ends up running into Simon Pegg, and he assumes that it's her, and she lets him believe that. And they go on their blind date, and she lets him believe that for quite a while until she comes clean. But they've already had such a fantastic time that they decide to stick it out. But problems arise where Simon Pegg runs into his ex-wife who's with her new husband or new boyfriend, and Lake Bell has to pretend to be his actual new girlfriend, and they're so much in love, and they get a lot of romantic competitiveness between the two couples. And Rory Kinnear as Lake Bell's, I don't know if it's her ex-boyfriend, but he's always been infatuated with her, and he is such an odd, quirky, hilarious character in this. This was definitely one of the ones where Greg got it right when he recommended this one to me. It's hilarious. Man Up. Number 3, we have a indie movie from 2000 called the Dow of Steve. The Dow of Steve, and it's written by Duncan North, Greer Goodman, and Jennifer Goodman, directed by Jennifer Goodman, and it stars Greer Goodman as Sid and Donald Logue as Dex. And the other characters you may not recognize. You may recognize David Aaron Baker from other stuff, and James Kimo Wills. He played Eddie in Empire Records. That's the only thing I'd recognize him from. You recognize the face right off the bat, but he doesn't have the long hair he did in Empire Records. In this one he plays Dave, but you basically got Donald Logue, who was a big hit with the ladies in high school, and he's still a big hit with the ladies now, except that he's like hugely overweight. But he has such a way with the women. He has this philosophy. He's big into philosophy, but he's developed this philosophy about dating women. So he gets a lot of women. And he meets up with Greer Goodman, who plays Sid, and he tries his charms on her, and they kind of work, but I don't know if I want to say, it's sort of the one girl he can't really get, and there's a particular reason for that. And so it's sort of like the ladies' man who can't get the lady, who she's sort of impervious to his charms. So he tries really hard to be sincere about it. And it's so well written. I remember reading about this in a weekly newspaper when I was in college, and I ended up finding a previously viewed copy on VHS. And years later, I ended up finding the DVD. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. Off the charts. It's so good. Donald Logue, it is the best thing I've ever seen Donald Logue in, hands down. But he always does a great job. But he did an exceptional job in this movie, The Tao of Steve. Number 2, we have another movie from 2000, another one I saw in college, thanks to a few girls on my floor who had rented a few movies for the weekend. And this one is called Boys and Girls. And this one stars Freddie Prinze Jr., Claire Forlani, Jason Biggs, and Amanda Detmer. Heather Donahue from Blair Witch is also in there. Allison Hannigan from Buffy and How I Met Your Mother is in there too. Matt Schultz from Blade and Fast and Furious shows up. But it's basically the relationship between Freddie Prinze Jr., who is Ryan, and Claire Forlani's Jennifer, have known each other basically since they were 11 and 12 in public school. And it jumps forward to high school, and it jumps forward again to college or university. And the bulk of the movie takes place in university. And like this one sort of picks up on, it was one of the movies that Jason Biggs made subsequent to American Pie. So he was in the spotlight. And he plays an excellent supporting character and like roommate slash good friend to Freddie Prinze Jr. And he's Hunter slash Steve, because he doesn't like who he was, so he reinvents himself, gives himself a new name, and he's just hilarious in the movie. But it's Freddie Prinze Jr. and Claire Forlani, who like each have their own separate relationships and keep coming back together, and finally end up getting together, but there are complications. So they're sort of best friends who have never been in a relationship with each other, and at some point they do. And the complications I won't get into, but I will say Freddie Prinze Jr. has an absolutely fantastic monologue in the movie that he says to Claire Forlani's character, Jennifer. And it's just, it floors me every time. Fantastic romantic comedy from 2000. By all means, check it out. Oh, it is so good. Boys and Girls. Number one by, well, not a long shot, but probably my favorite romantic comedy of all time. And it is from 2015, written directed by Leslie Headland, who did Bachelorette, the one with, I believe, James Marsden and Kirsten Dunst. This one stars Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie, Natasha Lyonne, Amanda Peet, Adam Scott in there. But the movie is called Sleeping with Other People. And this was another one where two people meet in college, hook up, and then like a decade later, at least 10 or 12 years later, meet each other again, reunite in the city, and renew their friendship, and sort of become best friends while they go off and have other relationships. They never get together in the movie proper, in the main part of the movie. You always want them to get together, but they don't. But because they're such good friends, and you just wonder, like, he's a ladies' man or like a sex addict kind of. He's a dog, and she's always been obsessed with this man she had a relationship with since college, and he's now a married man, and she's still having an affair with him, and she can't get him out of her system. And so he tries to help her get over that. And it's Jason Mantzoukas is also in this. He plays the best friend and co-worker of Jason Sudeikis, and he's probably the funniest part of the movie. But the chemistry between Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie is just gold, like platinum even. It's so wonderful. And so is this movie, Sleeping with Other People. Can't recommend it enough. It's a little on the racy dialogue and like sex scene side, but if that doesn't bother you, it's such a wonderful movie. Sleeping with Other People. So, thanks for watching this one as well, and I will catch you next time. Oh, okay, because I said I hadn't done this prior to now, but I guess since everyone else does it, maybe I'll do it just once. If you enjoy this one, click like, click subscribe. I don't know, could help me. I make these videos so people will discover these movies and hopefully enjoy them as much or more than I do. Hey, what do you got to lose? All right, toodles.